And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, and today brought to you in part by our friends at iHelp Consulting. How can I help you? iHelpConsulting.com. If your business needs to save some money, look no further than Daniel Owens and his staff at iHelp Consulting. It could be a few $100, a few $1,000, or like the 50 grand that he saved a healthcare facility here in the Palmetto State. iHelpConsulting.com. It's a free consult. Check them out there. Make sure you've downloaded the app. Make sure that you are chiming in today on the Share Healthcare chat lines as well, like Jamie and Craig already are. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. I got to apologize to everybody. Darren has no apologies to be made. He's gonna leave and fly to California this week to spend time with his family for Passover. And but our family caught this horrific stomach flu over the weekend. And pretty much everybody in the house has had it, and we have in-laws in town too, and they caught it. So it has it's been a rough. When did I text you, Darren?
Yesterday morning, the first time.
Yeah, I guess it was. It started to hit me on Sunday after one of my daughters woke up in the middle of the night Saturday night, and thought, well, maybe we'll avoid it. And all of a sudden, as Sunday went along, it was like, no, I'm not avoiding this.
Yeah.
So I hope all of you don't get that. It's pretty bad, and to be honest with you, it almost hurts still to just talk.
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's one of those, like, it's pain is what it is. It's pain. It's like a brick is stuck in your stomach. I mean, it's brutal. I was up all night Sunday night, Darren, had a fever all night, couldn't shake it. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
So we're back, and we'll be here today, and we'll be here tomorrow. And then you're going to be off and headed out west. And so we'll try to get as much in as we can over the next couple of days. We've got Clemson just played their spring game. South Carolina's got their spring game coming up this weekend. We get to look back on the Masters and look ahead to the RBC, which tees off on Thursday. Excited about that, clearly. Keith Allsep's going to be here today. We'll talk to him about some of the hires under Lamont Paris thus far and get his thoughts on what he's maybe looking for as well in the spring game this weekend. It is a spring game, and there are definitely some things that I'm excited to see, but then we also have to remember that it is the spring, and this is where you work on things. This is not a finished, finalized product. So we'll talk about that. We got Gene Sapakoff at 12:30. He spent time in Augusta. He'll be in Hilton Head this week as well. We will get into some of the spring football stuff with him. We'll talk some baseball with him as well. Dabo Sweeney made some comments a few days ago that a lot of folks have been discussing, so we'll certainly discuss those and so on and so forth. But I'm glad to see your face, Darren, not because you're the best looking guy in the world, but because it means we're back to work. So what's up, man?
Hey, tip of the cap for you. Pain, what you went through. Yeah, I probably texted you and said, "Yeah, no, we're not doing this today." But hey, you're powering through. You were kind of circling around that Scotty Scheffler idea for a while, and when Scheffler was still 9-1 before he took the lead, which he never relinquished, I actually jumped on that. So it was a good weekend. Strawberry Festival with the daughter is an annual thing. She likes to ride all the rides younger Darren used to like to ride, and now I watch them. And if you think your stomach hurt,
I was about to say.
Speaking of that, I went on one of them.
Way.
I went on a bunch of them, but once we got to like the bigger ones, I went on one and looked at her and said, "That's it." Like the rest of them, I'm camera guy, Dad. I'm not doing the rest. But overall, good weekend. I think it's funny that people are angry at Dabo. That's what people do. And
I don't get that.
And yeah, good for Tiger. He got back out there. But overall, it's a good weekend.
Yeah, definitely going to get to the Dabo stuff in just a minute. And before we go any further, let me make sure I give everybody the Palmetto State baseball slate today. Starting here in about 55 minutes or so, they're scheduled to throw the first pitch between the College of Charleston and the Citadel. It's a beautiful day for it. Dogs need a win. They've lost 6 straight. They're 17-13 overall, so looking to get one at home against the Cougs. You've also got You've also got USC Upstate versus Clemson tonight in Greenville at Florida Field at 6:00. North Florida, they are at South Carolina tonight at 7, and Gamecocks coming off of that series loss against Georgia. I had a long conversation with a prominent Palmetto State baseball person this morning, as a matter of fact, and probably shouldn't have. I should have saved my breath until now, but both Clemson and Carolina just not good in baseball right now, and then they gotta get things ironed out. So that's your Palmetto State slate tonight or today in the college baseball world. As for the Masters, I was when Scotty Scheffler won it, I was so thrilled because he is so humble and he is so open and deep in his faith, and regardless of whether somebody agrees with his religion or not, which clearly he's a Christian, and it doesn't matter. He is who he is, and that's what there is to respect about him. And his golf game, if you just want to talk about the golf, is really dang good until the last 2 putts of the afternoon, as the shakes I think started to get into him, Darren. But you almost had the feel when Sunday opened that he wasn't going to lose that thing. I didn't have enough faith in Cam Smith to make a true run. Like his game, love his game, love where he is. But you are not only going to have to make a run, you were going to have to post some type of course record, just because Scotty Scheffler is just as good, if not better, than anybody on the course right now. And I just didn't see him falling apart. He just didn't seem – he had never shown that. And so, yeah, major props to him. The highlight of Sunday was – I mean, the Masters winner is the highlight, but the highlight of Sunday is what happened with Rory and Morikawa holding out the 18th. I mean, that was that moment of, oh, my God, that just happened. And I remember when Faldo said on the broadcast, something unbelievable has just happened. I knew what happened. As soon as he said that, I knew Rory was in the sand and he was up there. I thought that could be the only thing on the course that would make any type of difference here. So it was neat to see Rory play like that at the end, because I really like Rory. And yeah, hey, ho-hum Masters. And as it goes for Tiger, to me, look, he got, I think, pretty much worse as the rounds went. I think it's the third rounds. I think the scores were the same. But, man, I have so much respect for what he did. Everybody in the world was talking about it and analyzing it. And I'm sitting here thinking, you go out and try to do that. You go out and try to shoot a 78, let alone a 78 with legs full of metal. I was in awe of his attitude and what he went through, and I just hope that translates into better golf in the future for Tiger Woods, because the sport needs him, certainly, Darren. But it was the Masters. You can't help but enjoy the Masters. It's a brilliant event.
My takeaway for the Tiger thing was he needed that more than the game or the fans needed it. Because as welcoming as
Well
he
said.
was to the fans, I mean, everywhere he went, every tee box, every green, every wherever he was this adoring mob of people.
Yeah.
And he acknowledged them continuously. That's not what we've come to expect from Tiger Woods. Even the newer age Tiger is laser focused, and while he'll let his he'll let his guard down a little bit at times, on the course he's laser focused. This time it was you could almost sense watching Tiger that he needed that uplifting support of the crowd, that he missed what all of that was. And that was my biggest takeaway for Tiger, because I said last week
I like
I was
that.
having trouble kind of separating Tiger golfer and Tiger came back from almost dead and losing a leg. And he separated that for me, right? I mean, the golf, he was outstanding in day one, and then after that, he looked like a guy who's coming back from major injuries and a guy that I don't know if he's ever going to really compete for anything again. But my takeaway was he needed it, and so I was happy for him. And I didn't think anyone would catch Scheffler, because I didn't think Scheffler was going to back up.
No, I didn't either.
So I thought that was the biggest challenge for anyone.
Well, dude, I'll say this, like Darren, like, I mean, it's you can't really play the what if game, right? But what if Cam Smith hadn't fallen apart at the 12th? Was it the 12th that he fell apart? Race Creek? Yeah, 12th.
Yeah.
Right
around there.
What if he was only 2 shots back, and then you had Scheffler putting for, hey, look, just tap it in. And you're like, I mean, he was really, I don't know that would have happened. I think he was more along the lines of, hey, I'm just going to putt it till it goes in, because it's not going to take me 7 putts here. But you know what I mean? Like there was he was clearly in that moment, he kind of felt it a little bit, like, oh my God, I'm actually going to win this thing. And it was, all right. And he put his hand over the mouth. I mean, that was, somebody just said here, Ryan here in the Share Healthcare chat lines, the 4-putt on 18 was the most relatable thing I've seen in sports in a long while. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Like, you're putting to win the Masters. You're Scott. Now you're about to be Scotty Scheffler, Masters champion, not Scotty Scheffler or anything else. You are now known as Scotty Scheffler, Masters champion. All the other stuff doesn't matter anymore in the eyes of the world. Yeah, that was crazy. And look, for Tiger, I think Tiger accomplished. Look, you said it last week, and you're right. Tiger is going to tell you when he plays golf that he can win. Mm-hmm. That's Tiger. He's never going to say, I'm just hope to make the cut. It's just not Tiger. I would venture, if you played PlayStation with him, if you play basketball, he is so competitive. It doesn't matter what you're going to do with him. He's going to tell you, all right, I'll play, but I'm going to win. Mm-hmm. But I think deep in the back of his mind, whether he'll publicly admit it or not, who knows? Maybe one day he will. It was more along the lines of, all right, this is going to be a 2-step approach for me. Can I make the cut? And then when I make the cut, can I finish the tournament? And he did both. Mm-hmm. It was almost like the end of the Jamaican bobsled movie. Like, I got to finish the race, like I got to finish it. And he did. And what does that mean? He's committed to the Open. He said that's his favorite course in the world at St. Andrews. And that will be exciting to watch him. Will we see him between now and then? I don't know. But we all got to see Tiger Woods back on the course this weekend. I will say this, you said it Friday, and I was, and you were right, and I agree with you. I mean, I agreed then, and I'm so happy. The broadcast was brilliant on Sunday because it was all about those in contention. It was all about him. It was Jim Nance is the best, and it was all about those in contention. Didn't really hear anything about Tiger till after his round was over. Yeah,
I mean, he went largely before the linear broadcast took over, on TV broadcast took over. So he was almost done by that point. So that kind of freed everything else up. One other thing for Scheffler, the story made the rounds, but if you didn't hear it, towards the end of the round, I mean, it all kind of makes sense now. The reason that he never really fell apart, especially after almost falling apart at the beginning and pulling it back together again, was this conversation he had with his wife, right? In the morning. Basically, he offers up to media that he cried the morning of Sunday because he didn't feel as though he was worthy or ready for the moment, or however he put it. But for someone to have that of I don't know, to be that transparent, to be that honest and open with he didn't have to share that story, but when you have that story with the framework of, I don't know how many people saw at the end of the Masters, he's walking with his wife and she kind of slips his hand grasp and he waits. He reaches back and pulls her back. There's a bond there, and yes, there's a tight religious belief, but there's also a relatable and something to look up to. I mean, that's the type of guy that I think you hope your daughter marries someone like that, and right. I mean, that's the type of guy you hope that you are, like just a good dude. So that's my takeaway. And he's won major turn. This is his first major, but the tournaments he won leading up were big deals. So like he's got the stones here. Now it's just, how long is he going to keep this up?
I likability is what it is, I think, Darren. I mean, we like, if that was I mean, and I don't mean any disrespect to these guys, but I mean, if Patrick Reed was well in the lead on Sunday, the response would be different. Scotty Scheffler has a likability factor to him. Rory has a likability factor. When he put it together on Sunday, people were like, this is neat to see Rory playing well. People like the likability factor in golf. Fair. They're not big fans of the villain necessarily in the sport of golf. DeChambeau is a villain. There's not I guess it'd depend on who you ask, Darren, but I mean, there's not this major love fest with Brooks Koepka from a likability standpoint. He's rough around the edges. He's got an arrogance about him. I like him personally. I like where his head is. I'm better than all of you. I love that. But Scotty Scheffler, yeah, you're right. He's the humble kid that lives down the street that you hope that your daughter marries someday. And big fan. He's got a lot of fans that he didn't know existed now. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, he absolutely does. Rory, Meredith and Scott talked about it. I mean, he doesn't start majors well. He starts slow and then he comes on strong. So he made this ridiculous push to get there. Yeah, he's likable. DeChambeau, I did not realize until maybe yesterday, he hung around for, if not two, at least one day after missing the cut to watch Tiger, and was quoted as saying, "I'm here to watch the best who's ever done it because I don't know how many chances I'm going to get to do it." For a guy like DeChambeau to say that, I think most people know what I think of him. I mean, I don't know him, but I'm not a fan of his antics or Koepka or Reed. It's basically just those three. That surprised me. I didn't think we would see something like that from DeChambeau, but that shows you the respect that Tiger does have. So it was overall, I mean, it's the Masters, so it's fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the entire thing. And then we got baseball, and the worst team in baseball isn't quite the worst team yet, but they will be. Well, maybe not the worst, but
the Orioles.
No, the Nats, man.
Oh,
the team that beat the Braves yesterday, they're going to be really, really bad.
that DC Baltimore Parkway is
bad.
It's a tough travel these days with both those organizations. Not doing a whole lot. No. But we'll recap more of the Masters with Gene ahead. He was there and excited to talk to him. Shout out to our dear friend Meredith Taylor. I didn't have my phone on me much, especially when I started feeling bad yesterday. I didn't even look at it. I've got some texts I still need to get back to. But shout out to Meredith, because I did happen to have my phone on me when I looked down and it was ringing and it said Augusta National Golf Club. And I thought, what has happened here? No offense to Meredith, but she didn't even pop into my mind. I just thought, what's happened? Did somebody put me in a drawing I don't know about? I'm about to win some tickets. Is Tiger calling? I don't know. And I answered the phone and it was Meredith. So that was neat. I screenshotted that. I told her to call back so I could screenshot it. And I'll keep that. That's as close as I've been to Augusta Nationals golf course in my life. And hopefully that changes one day. But
so I didn't talk to Meredith because when she called me, she probably called Scott too. it just showed up as a number. I was like, what?
Oh.
I'm not gonna. If the number shows up as a number, I'm not answering the phone, right? So get that. If you try and call me and your number's not my phone, I'm not answering your call. But it's a good thing, right? Because stop calling people and go watch golf. You're on the grounds at Augusta, Meredith. Go watch golf.
Yeah.
Tell me about it later.
Dude. Well, I'm just thankful that she even thought about me while I was out there. That's so very sweet. So that was awesome, man. I loved it. Great weekend for the Masters, and now the golf world turns its attention to the southernmost part of the Palmetto State, Hilton Head Island, this weekend, where the RBC is set to tee off, and Gene will have more on that ahead as well. You mentioned just a little while ago you're not upset by Dabo's comments. I'm not either. I actually agreed with Dabo's comments. Look, Dabo Swinney, we talked about this like 2 years ago when you and I first got on the air. He is now, because you win the national championship, you're really good, you automatically have a target on your back. And Dabo has long been outspoken. Now, don't misunderstand me. He has said some things in the past that I have thought are ridiculous. And he said some things about the University of South Carolina in his younger days that I thought were atrocious and not necessary. But so anytime he speaks now, people are going to dissect what he says. He's in Saban land.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, Dabo, Urban Meyer, Lincoln Riley, if you want to include him in that. But I would say those three are the most polarizing when they speak today in college or pro football. I guess Urban Meyer is whatever. But certainly, yeah, whatever. But certainly Dabo and Coach Saban, when they say something, you listen to it, you read into it, you take opinion from it. And Coach Swinney is often asked his opinions on the main issues in college football. And, he said last week, quote, "I think there's going to be a complete blow up, especially in football, and there needs to be," talking about the Power 5 schools forming their own division. He would go on to say, "I think eventually there will be some type of break in another division. Right now, you've got everybody in one group, and it's not feasible. Alabama has different problems than Middle Tennessee, but we're trying to make them all the same, and it's just not. I think you'll have 40 or 50 teams and a commissioner, and here are the rules." He said, he was asked about NIL. He was asked about a lot of stuff. He went on to say things like, quote, "There's so much bureaucracy and you can't get anything done in a real-time manner. The communication is not good and the rules are outdated. Again, there have been a lot of positive when it comes to scholarships, but you've got all these people voting on things and it's just not apples to apples." And then he held his stance with education and saying that a lot of what's going on out there, he feels like could devalue education. He feels like there's kids that might end up without degrees because they make decisions on the wrong things. I've seen people trash him on social media for that. The reality of it is this: we don't know. I mean, those that say, well, that's never going to happen, you don't know that. And Coach Swinney saying that it's going to devalue, I don't think he was saying that it's going to happen to everybody. I think he was saying it can happen to some.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know that either. That is just his thought, and it's just his thought and his opinion against somebody else's. I think that it's good to have these conversations, and I think that if the world does spin in that direction, Darren, where we are looking at major changes in at least with Power 5 programs, probably starting with college football, that it's going to be good to have the opinions of Coach Swinney and Coach Saban, who actually differ in a couple of things, and others. And then you want offsetting opinions so you can try to figure out what's the best thing here. I'm not going to go as far as to say I totally agree with everything Dabo said or I totally disagree with everything he said, but I had no issue with his comments. What I appreciate is the fact that he was candid and honest, and we need more of that.
I couldn't believe the backlash that came from it. And it's similar to something he had said before about NIL as well, because when he opens his mouth, he's become this lightning rod for, I don't know, anyone who just doesn't like Dabo or didn't like Dabo and hasn't gotten over it, or maybe because they've been good for a while, or maybe who knows. But what he said, I've been saying it for like a year and a half now. Or I don't know. I guess the Texas-Oklahoma thing happened about a year ago at this point.
Yeah.
That's what I've been saying. I agree with what he's saying. The gap is getting wider here. What's happening is the big time programs, the ones with all the money, the Power Five, and not even all of the Power Five, but we'll just lump those in for the sake of this conversation. They have far more resources, and they are playing a completely different game than the group of 5 and below. And sooner or later, there is going to have to be some type of separation. There's going to have to be some type of commissioner. The commissioner won't oversee the entire thing. It'll just be these guys and some form or fashion of some NFL type of model. I haven't lost belief in that for 1 second. So what he was saying is right. And I think a lot of what the backlash was is people, oh, you're not adapting to the new way of college football or whatever. That's not what he's saying, right? Clemson's not avoiding NIL, and they're not telling kids you can't do it. No,
they're building a whole facility for it.
Right. I mean, they're doing what they can to keep up with the Joneses, but at the same time acknowledging, look, if this is where we're going, let's have a roadmap of where this whole thing's going, because the way it's going right now isn't feasible and doesn't make sense. So what he said, I agree with almost every word that I didn't actually see, but I read in the article. And the backlash, I guess, isn't shocking, because anytime he talks, that's what happens. But I vehemently disagreed with that part, the feedback that he was getting.
Absolutely. And Darren, look, you and I are adults, okay? You and I, we understand taxes and salaries and things like that. They're again, keep in mind, folks, it was announced last week by Clemson. They're building a massive facility to help facilitate, educate, anything you can finish with an 8, their student athletes in name, image, and likeness. I mean, they're going to give you a video room. They're going to give you all kinds of stuff to quote unquote build your brand. But I mean, Dabo said things that are this is real life. And if people would pay attention to real life stories out there, they would find that these problems are more common than you might think. He would say things. He said, quote, kids don't know what they don't know. That's a slippery slope. If you professionalize college athletics and now you've got salaries and taxes and you can fire kids on the spot and they've got to pay for their tuition and they pay for their housing and everything else, athletic directors would sign up for that in a heartbeat. They'd save money. He's right. I mean, we're sitting here talking about wanting to make kids employees. Well, you do realize if you're an employee, you can be fired, right? And, I mean, can you be on a salary? Sure, you can be on a salary. Does that salary have to necessarily tie into the cost of your education? Nope, it doesn't. I mean, these schools will have some leniency in how they want to do things. I mean, what it costs to go to school has nothing to do with playing athletics. You can separate those, and these schools will do that if they think that they're going to be losing money paying kids and then also giving them a scholarship. That's not going to happen. And he's just bringing that to the forefront. People want to trash him over that because everybody thinks you should be given everything in the world these days. And that's just a bunch of BS is what it is. So I agree with Coach Sweeney. I appreciate the fact that he says the tough things that people don't want to talk about. We're in this age where there's a bunch of attorneys and things like that have all of a sudden invested themselves in college athletics, and they'll tell you that it's because the kids haven't gotten a fair shake and whatever it is. And there's some truth in that over the years, no doubt. I'm not going to discount that. But do you really think they're doing this for free? Give me a break. We all know why they're doing this. There's a boatload of money to be made on it. And then they'll turn around and tell you, yeah, well, these kids are making a boatload of money because of what I'm doing. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy. But there's still a system that's out there that's going to eat them up if we don't figure out the best way to do this. And it goes back, Darren, as you well know, we've talked about this 1,000 times, to the lack of oversight via the NCAA over the years and basically hoping and wishing that this would never come to fruition, and it did. And so now nobody knows what to do. There is no real leadership. And Coach Sweeney is spot on. I mean, the Jackson State situation with NIL, that is not sustainable. Like, it's not going to happen all the time. It's a thing that has happened. It's a fire that has sprouted up, and it's a big one. And good for Jackson State. That's fantastic. But South Carolina State can't do that. They don't have Deion Sanders as their head coach. All right. I mean, it can't happen at North Carolina A&T. That's not happening at the Citadel. It's not happening at Limestone. I mean, it's not, no offense to these schools, but it's not. I mean, it's so, yeah, there is no system. There is no structure. And Coach Sweeney is bold enough and brave enough to get out there and give us his thoughts. And, I mean, last I checked, Clemson is still one of the best programs in the country. So it's not killing them by him saying what people deem outlandish stuff. So props to Dabo Sweeney for being vocal about it and what he believes in. And I don't agree with everything he's always said. I've said that 1,000 times. I laugh at some of it. I'm like, all right, that's stupid. But on these issues, he's saying what he thinks. Mad respect for me, man. I appreciate it.
And some of it, let's go back to the whole college football playoff expansion blow up, right? When it became pretty evident and then squashed that this thing isn't expanding. And a lot of the blame was centered on the ACC, right or wrong. And the idea that Jim Phillips kept spouting was sort of this in a different way. What he's saying is we don't know the future of college football. How are we going to lock in a plan when we don't know what college football is going to look like? Dabo is saying the same thing. He's just putting it in different type of perspective. So that it's worth just chewing on that. That coming out of Dabo's mouth, tie that to what you've heard. They're in lockstep, basically.
Hey, I don't disagree with any of that. I think it's there's a lot of truth in that. You make some major adjustment today, and then something. I mean, yeah, we all know what happens in the summer. God only knows what gets out in the summer. You know, things change rapidly. You'd be able to anticipate some of these changes if there was leadership, and there's not.
Yep.
And I'm going to just squeeze this in before we get a break. Let's not change anything until we give full scholarships in baseball. Because this is ridiculous. I mean, we're still at 11.7. Yep. Nobody wants to talk about it, though, because that's, that's not something that it's not something that fits the mold right now. But maybe it will one day. All right, 12:32 here on this Tuesday afternoon. It's time for a timeout, but Gene Sapakoff will be here. Shane Beamer's at the podium as well, meeting with the media today. Anything newsworthy out of that, we'll pass along. Gamecock spring game coming up on Saturday. Hang tight, JB and Goldwater Show. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
All right, 12:35 on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, brought to you in part today by iHelp Consulting, iHelpConsulting.com. Straight to the phone lines we go. Gene Sapakoff has been all over the course, Augusta, and now this week, Hilton Head. He's living the dream, and he's going to tell us about it right now. Hey, man.
Well, I mailed you guys some famed egg salad sandwiches from Augusta. I'm not sure they'll smell real good when they get to you, but it's the thought that counts, right?
So my daughter, I don't know where this cup was, but she found some cup yesterday that was still filled, and in it was milk, although it was like crumbs of milk. It was gross. So whatever you sent in the mail will be more edible than what was poured into my sink.
It sounds like your daughter is off to doing some great science experiments. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, brilliant.
I want to know what farmer has the contract with Augusta National, whose chickens are popping out all those eggs. That's a hell of a deal there, Gene. Somebody's making a bunch of money every year for egg salad sandwiches.
No doubt about it. And by the way, one of the so many interesting things about Augusta is you're not going to probably hear who that farmer is, because even on the drinks that they serve at Augusta at the concession stands, it will say diet cola drink, sports beverage drink, etc. No brand names mentioned.
That's very true. That's Augusta to a T.
So what you're saying is it's Duke's mayonnaise. They're just not telling you.
Very, very likely. That's what I suspect.
That's Coach Beamer. He was there this weekend. Carolina sent everybody over there. Beamer was there. Lamont Paris was there. Who did you see? Nate, give me a famous person that you saw on the course somewhere.
How about Larry Fitzgerald, the former or NFL receiver and a huge golf guy, by the way. He just loves golf, and I think he's pretty good at it. I usually tend to look for the athlete types, and I'll miss some young hot actor or something that people were talking about that was out on the course. But yeah, usually I just notice the football type people, and it's hard to miss Peyton Manning and Lynn Swann when they're wearing their green jackets.
That's true. Yeah, I think Thomas Rhett was there. I mean, who knows how many were actually there? They're always kind of roaming around the course. So, Gene, Scotty Scheffler wins the green jacket, and Darren and I discussed it at the top of the program. He is a very, very likable guy. Your takeaway from his performance and where he goes from here?
Well, it's amazing because he was one of the odds-on favorites to win because he had won in 3 of his previous 5 starts and number 1 in the world. But usually when that happens, it's like, oh, he's just got no shot. He might not even make the cut. That's the way Augusta can be. If you look at his career arc, it's similar to that of his buddy Jordan Spieth, who in his first Augusta start at 20 years old finished second and then won the next year at 21. And, Jordan went on to have some good success in majors, but not quite the Augusta success as far as winning other green jackets that people may have forecast. The difference with Scheffler at 25, from the same Dallas area, also University of Texas guy, is that he's a little more mature. He's already married, which means I think he's made some personal adjustments in his life that Jordan Spieth had to make, or let's say got to make, because it's obviously a wonderful relationship and everything, but that is a difficult transition often for young golfers going to be family people, and I just think Scotty Scheffler, it's amazing to me, and you guys know from being in competitive youth sports and stuff what this stat means, but Scotty Scheffler in 136 or 137 youth junior tournaments in the Dallas area, 190 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so ridiculously focused. And junior golf tournaments, that's not like one-on-one, some sort of sporting one-on-one event or something. He's playing against all kinds of talented kids from Texas, and he wins 90 of 136. That's ridiculous.
Let me ask you, did you mentioned that Scheffler's already married? Something that I almost paused at because I noticed it and it jumped out to me was following the round when his wife, and I don't know her name, when she goes out to greet him, then they're walking up.
Meredith.
Okay, Meredith. So walking up hand in hand, she almost falls behind a little because that's what you typically see. That the spouse or the family falls behind, lets the golfer have his moment. The hands kind of slip apart. He reaches back for him, pulls her back even with him. And then afterwards, you hear the story about what went on that morning. Was it strange to you, in a good way, strange, seeing that scene unfold?
I love that, Darren. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I think a couple of things about Scottie Scheffler. One, he lets you in to some of these stories about his life and his anxiety and everything. And he's not just, obviously, he's got to be focused and completely dedicated to his game. He has a famed, instructor, Randy Smith in Dallas, who goes back as being a, club pro, having taught people back to Justin Leonard and others. I think he's got this perspective and of things, family-wise, personal-wise, relationship-wise. For instance, Will Zalatoris, I asked him after the round that he had, and boy, he's got quite a future too, the former Wake Forest golfer. He grew up playing with Scheffler. They're both from the Dallas area. And he said, this is the kind of guy that'll just completely shut off golf for a few days and, just worry about barbecuing and just having fun and not really talking much about golf. So that's probably going to help Scottie Scheffler going forward. I think you could get some pretty good money betting that he will win at least another green jacket, if not more.
Yeah, he's got it. I mean, he's a heck of a player, and mentally, he's perfect for golf. And at least what we've learned about him, Gene, it was a very interesting week on the course because of the conditions. All 4 days seemingly brought something a little bit different into play for the field. What did you experience? What did you notice about that while you were out there?
Great point, Jamie. It's been hotter, it's been colder, it's been windier, but the mix was pretty weird. I mean, on Thursday, pretty moist out there, especially in the fairways. They have the amazing sub-air dryer system for the greens there. But then on Friday, it's very, very windy, even for Augusta or any course conditions. And then pretty amazingly cold on Saturday, and then a nice day, not hot or anything, but a nice day on Sunday. So they had to deal with it all. And I think that makes Scheffler navigating all that much more impressive.
Were you around 18 when Rory and Morikawa holed out?
Was not, but I saw it happen live in the press building, and that was really tremendous. And you just wonder if things had been different. And they both, not only did they hole out there, they both played so well on Sunday. What if that had been two guys, going for the jacket there? That would have been the most famous 18th hole in golf history. And it was just so cool. I mean, the odds of Morikawa to repeat essentially what Rory did, just so much fun. And Augusta never fails to give you stuff like that on Sunday.
What was the reaction? You said you were in the media room or in the media tent?
Yeah.
What was the reaction in there when you saw Rory and then when Morikawa did it?
Back-to-back collective gasps and from an international media. It was just,
that's neat,
just amazing. So, I mean, that's got to be one of the several coolest memories at Augusta in a generation or so.
I would think so. Yeah, it was incredible. And then to contrast that a little bit or offset that, maybe you had Scheffler, who seemed flawless the entire tournament until the final putt. And what was your reaction? You saw him, you missed one. You've missed two. Not that he was in danger of losing the tournament, but it seemed like finally this moment had kind of sunk in what was about to happen to him.
Yeah, I think it was almost like a high school kid that like knows he's got something in the bag. We're going to win the state basketball tournament by 20 points, and he misses a couple free throws uncharacteristically. It's almost like Scheffler had an eye on his wife and his sisters over there, and maybe another eye on Matsuyama getting ready to give him a green jacket. And it was almost kind of funny. I mean, caddy Ted Scott after, before the last one had to kind of settle him down a little, but no big deal, 3-shot lead. And I don't think it's anything that'll carry over with him.
No.
You almost don't even remember it, to be honest. Like, I know it happened, but my memory is Scheffler after a rocky, first 2 drives, and then the chip in on 3, and then he dominates. Like, that's my memory.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many good ones, like his amazing bogey at 18 on Saturday in the 3rd round when it looked like he may have lost his ball, and then he does find it and has to get an interesting clarification from a rules official from Great Britain or someplace. And it was, I love, obviously, as most golf fans do, the mics on people, but, he's saying you can move everything but the pine straw, and Scheffler saying, I feel like I can move the pine straw. Can you get double check on that? And the guy said, oh yeah, you can move the pine straw. So, I mean, this is one sharp kid.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's not good for the rules official. Probably gonna have a discussion about that somewhere in the clubhouse. Gene Sapakoff here at 12:45 on this Tuesday afternoon. Gene, so I've reserved the end of the Masters conversation for Tiger Woods. It is. I would hope most out there are doing the same thing because Scottie Scheffler is the winner. But Tiger Woods did make the cut, and he made it through 4 rounds of golf. They obviously weren't anywhere near his top 10,000 rounds of golf ever played. But he did complete the tournament. Gene, your takeaway from what we saw out of the best ever do it?
Yeah, let's start out by saying that his 278s on Saturday and on Sunday were the worst 2 scores Tiger's had in 94 rounds at Augusta. However, I was at 18 when Tiger finished up on Sunday and walked on the other side of the ropes with him all the way until the crowd can't go any farther, but the media can, to the oak tree that people know about in front of the clubhouse. And as he walked by his family, and I'm watching him all the way, and he looked terrible, just up close to see him. Usually you like to say about a great athlete, well, he's 40, but he looks 30 or something. Tiger's 46, he looked 56.
Okay.
And that limp was even more noticeable than it had been the previous 3 days. And I just said to myself, there's 4 great things Tiger's done at Augusta. 97, winning at 21 years old. 2001, shattering the course record, obliterating it. 2019, winning at 43 when nobody thought it could be done. I think this year was the most amazing accomplishment because the weather didn't cooperate with him. Less than 14 months removed from 2 open fractures. I mean, he didn't just break his leg. That thing was a complete mess. And not only does he play a really good first round, he makes the cut and he sticks with it through those last couple of rounds because, I saw him warming up in person on the practice round. I mean, I saw him warming up on the practice range Sunday morning. And I went in to the media room, and other people were watching it too on TV, on the Golf Channel thing, and they were saying, like, I don't know if he's going to make it to the first tee today. He just looks really bad. So I thought it was ridiculous.
I said, first of all, everything that you just pointed out was also, it was noticeable on the TV screens as well. I mean, that limp that you talked about, he covered it to his best ability until he was closer to the clubhouse, and then it was just very evident. I said, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, I thought the crowd was as important to Tiger as Tiger was to the Masters and to the game of golf, for Tiger to feel and see that emotion again, and he acknowledged it throughout 4 days.
Absolutely, Darren. And I'll tell you the one word he kept repeating from his Tuesday presser into the last, few lines of his farewell Sunday presser was thankful, grateful. Yeah, I mean, it was a different kind of Tiger. It was pretty amazing accomplishment, I think.
Do you think that he would share your opinion that this is one of his greatest accomplishments at Augusta?
I'm almost certain that if you caught him off guard or woke him up in the middle of the night, he absolutely would be sharing that. And one of the other reasons for him personally is he loved that, his kids got to see him do that. And because they had to think that Dad's not going to play competitive golf anymore, I don't think, at some point. And I just think he gets quite the kick out of that.
What do you think what do you think he proved to himself this weekend? That he isn't done, that he can win again, that he is, I mean, I don't even know if I heard any of his comments. What do you think he proved, or to himself at least?
I think those two things, that he's not done and that he can win again. I mean, again, in the Tuesday presser, I'm here because I think I can win. And then to make it around 4 rounds at Augusta, which, I mean, you guys know, but a lot of people, casual golf fans or people are not that familiar with the course. It is, in fact, one of the hilliest courses on the PGA Tour. I mean, if he'd have been playing at Hilton Head this week, which is flat as a pancake, would have been a different thing. I mean, still quite the accomplishment, but still physically a different kind of challenge, just like if you're going to run a 10K over the Copper River Bridge as opposed to just on complete flat ground. I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And so I think he can win again on tour. I think he can get PGA Tour victory number 83, which would be the most, and break that tie with Byron Nelson. And I'm crazy, but I think he can win one more major.
I don't think you're crazy. I don't think that. I just don't think
you're crazy.
Gene, we've seen it too many times with him. I can't discount him until he proves me wrong. I just can't do it. He's the best we've ever seen. I can't tell the bet. I can't be truthful to myself, at least if anybody ever asks my opinion, and say the best who's ever done it can't win again until he either says he can't or he proves he can't. So we'll see. We know he won't win this week. He's not playing at the RBC. That's where you're headed. What are you excited about seeing down in Hilton Head this weekend? Hopefully good weather.
Yeah, the RBC Heritage, which was on the brink of survival several years ago and, got their sponsorship straightened out and stuff, has just gradually improved their field. I mean, it was kind of the disappointment there for a while, but really strangely starting in 2020, when it was the second tournament out of the box post-COVID, they've got some really good players in the field. Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, of course, Dustin Johnson, who's an ambassador there officially, and Morikawa is on the scene. And I'm interested to see how these bigger hitters, including DJ, navigate the small shot makers, old school throwback course that is there. That is what I always like to see. And so it's no accident that guys like Webb Simpson, Jim Furyk, and last year Stuart Sink, older guys that don't hit the ball a long way, that those guys win there. I'm interested to see if one of these young slammers can win at the RBC.
Yeah, this would be, let's see, Sink, hasn't he won this tournament 3 times?
Yeah, last year, remember?
Yeah.
Last year, and he had won it before for sure. So, his low country golf history dates back to, as Georgia Tech playing at the Rice Planters in Mount Pleasant. He's been around. And it's an interesting story with Stuart Sink. His son Reagan is his caddy. I don't know. Sink was saying at the Masters, not sure how much longer that's going to last, but it's been fun, and they sure did a great job last year at Hilton Head.
And the embrace after the hole-in-one was cool too. I mean, that was the first thing I thought. Absolutely. Was that's his son on the bag, and he gets a hole-in-one in the Masters. That's awesome.
That's very true.
That was cool. And in playing with them, by the way, that day was Harry Higgs, a.k.a. Big Rig Harry Higgs, who's just become quite the fan favorite. He finished top 5 at Kiowa in the PGA Championship. That's what got him into the Masters for his first Masters. Then he finishes 14th at the Masters. His brother caddies for him. He's just funny, outspoken, always talking about food, my kind of guy.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a big fan of the guy who wants to talk food. The one thing that I wish, and maybe I've missed it, Gene, and if I'm looking in the wrong direction, you tell me where to find it publicly more often. But I wish that there was a way, or they could find a way, the RBC I'm talking about, to tell their story maybe a little bit better, because this tournament has long been kind of, or at least recently, long in the last 10, 15 years, in my opinion, been viewed as the golf tournament after the Masters, and nothing more than that. And I think if people did their research, they would find this tournament has a substantial history. Arnold Palmer has won the RBC. Jack Nicklaus has won it. Tom Watson has won it. Nick Faldo, Bernard Longer, Greg Norman, Payne Stewart. I mean, some of the greatest names in the history of the sport have won this tournament, and I'm not sure that story gets told well enough publicly more often. So maybe you could do some digging this week, figure out what they can do better there.
Well, that's a good idea, and I plan to look into that very thing. But, it's interesting. It comes right after the Masters. A lot of guys have really built up to that through the Florida swing, and I think they want to break. Like I said, it's the shot maker's course. It's the anti-big hitter, expand the distance and lengthening thing, and it just doesn't fit some guys' games. And then these guys just make too much money. I mean, there's international and appearance options and things like that they don't have to play every week like they used to back in the day, even dating, say, into the early 90s.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, for those that are headed out there this weekend, if you were planning to head out there and you haven't bought your tickets, I got bad news for you. It is sold out, but you're going to see, as Gene mentioned, many of the stars. Stuart Sink won it last year. He's there again. Cantlay's there. DJ's there. Spieth is there this weekend. So it's going to be, Webb Simpson. It's going to be a lot of fun, Gene, and certainly looking forward to see what happens down there and see what Justin Thomas, a guy that I hope plays well this weekend. I think JT might have a good shot around the course. All right, before we let you go, last couple of minutes here, spring game coming up at South Carolina. Gene, it's a long ways until the season. Coach Beamer has already mentioned today, though, this will be a true game. Last year, they didn't have enough players to play a true game. It was practice, basically. But this weekend, they got enough players, so they're going to separate them. They're going to go out there and play football. He said there's about 10 guys that probably won't play, probably going to have head coaches on either sideline. It's going to be at night at Williams-Brice. Patrick Davis will be providing pregame entertainment at 5 o'clock. You got the alumni flag football game at 6. I mean, it's a big to-do at Williams-Brice Stadium this weekend. What are you most interested in seeing here in Shane Beamer's second spring game?
Well, first of all, I think the University of South Carolina has just done a tremendous job making that such a fun day with the night activity and everything. As far as the actual game, spring games are just glorified scrimmages, and not even that, because they know that there's a lot of people watching that are going to be on their schedule. And that really, I like to look for things like body language and, connections and maybe things here and there. But it's football stuff. It's just really, really hard to find. Now, like at Clemson, when DJ Uiagalelei comes out like he did last week and throws more incompletions than completions, that catches my eye. So I want to see Spencer Rattler sharp. I want to see him snap that arm, and let's see, this is what we're looking for precision-wise, and maybe a few great grabs by receivers. But believe me, the stars of that game are going to be a bunch of guys that rarely get on the field when SEC action actually begins.
Yeah, I think that there is literally one storyline this weekend. Well, there's two. One is, can they stay healthy? Don't have anything stupid happen and get one of your better players or injured and out for the season. But I mean, Gene, let's just all be honest with each other, right? We're going to talk about a lot of this tomorrow with JC. The storyline this weekend is just seeing Spencer Rattler. I almost feel like there is a portion of the fan base that's going to just wants to get in the stadium on Saturday night to look out there and go, Okay, yeah, this is real. Everything I've been seeing, they're all telling me the truth. Spencer Rattler is actually at South Carolina in a uniform on the field.
I think you're exactly right. And in that same sense, you know, a lot of times you talk about the spring game in the old days as being the biggest part of the off season. Well, Shane Beamer won the off season when Spencer Rattler committed to transfer to the Gamecocks. That's it right there. Not even signing day, not very much else. That was huge. You just went from having one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC after having one of the 2 or 3 worst quarterback rooms in the SEC. So, I mean, that's it. And you're right. Hey, there's Spencer Rattler, like you said. I couldn't say it any better, but I'll still try. He's in a Gamecock uniform. There he is. Take a picture.
Wait, I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of 2005, Gene, when we walked in for a spring game. There was 40,000 people in there, and you looked down on the sidelines. You said, "Oh my God, that is actually Steve Spurrier, and he's standing on the home side of this ballpark. This is incredible."
Yeah, that's right. I mean, again, I think that's all the excitement. I think 70% of the Gamecock excitement going into the 2022 season is about Rattler, and the rest of it is, hey, we had a winning record and beat North Carolina in the Mayonnaise Bowl.
Yeah. Hey, that's right. That's right. All right. I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to let you run. We're already overdue here. We have not seen Spencer Rattler, which they have not said he's the starting quarterback, but we're not stupid. We know he's the starting quarterback, South Carolina. We have not seen him play the spring game. Okay. But going into his performance in the spring game versus what you saw from DJ Uiagalelei in his spring game performance this past weekend with Clemson, does South Carolina or Clemson have the better quarterback room right now?
There's no doubt that Clemson has the better room because they also have Cade Klubnik, who might be the best quarterback in the state. We'll see. We don't know that, but he could be. But the best starter, and you can only play one at a time, or, well, let's put it this way, because I'm excited about Klubnik. But who's got more upside right now, Rattler or DJ Uiagalelei? Rattler's had better performances in major college football games. There's just no doubt about it.
Great point. Well said. Well said. All right, Gene. So you'll be at the RBC this weekend, so we get another golf update from you next week. I love this time of year. It's fantastic.
There you go. And be looking for those egg salad sandwiches in the mail.
There you go.
Oh, I can't wait to get those. My in-laws are in town, so I'll have them try them out first.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud. See ya.
Okay, thanks for having me.
There you go, Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier. Time for a timeout. We'll dabble in some baseball and get to Keith Allsep when we return on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor, Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone, again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Final hour on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, brought to you in part by I Help Consulting, ihelpconsulting.com. I don't know if Gene was aware that I'm just getting over the stomach flu or not, but the egg salad sandwich thing was a little disheartening.
I thought about it. I didn't bring it up, but that was in the back of my mind. The part of that conversation. I'm like, it's not helpful.
Ugh, no. I mean, I still am like scared to eat something. Thanks a lot, Gene. I really appreciate that.
Chicken noodle soup and saltines.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's generally a go-to for me when I'm sick, or maybe I can squeeze in a grilled cheese sandwich here and there. But I don't know, man. I just don't know. All right, the Share Healthcare chat lines. Meredith was down there on
Saturday.
Was it Saturday?
No, it was Friday because she didn't do the show.
Oh yeah, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
She said she saw Thomas Rhett, Troy Aikman, Charles Kelly, and the Dude Perfect guys. That's pretty cool. I bet Troy Aikman was looking snazzy with his new $80 million deal or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's one that needs the money, right? Did you see the Dude Perfect stuff that they did around Amen Corner with DeChambeau and with I think it was just them and DeChambeau, but they had tennis rackets and like a hockey stick like they had in Happy Gilmore, and they're just very unmasters or un-Augusta National like to let those guys in.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it. I knew about it, but that is unusual. I think somebody already has said that as well in our chat lines over here. But
Yep.
yeah, Tyler. Yeah, I that is unusual. Like, they Augusta National here and there, they'll do a couple of things, but that was really unique.
Mhm.
So I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I'm definitely going to watch it. Craig, am I going to the spring game? I'm assuming is what you're asking about. If I'm good to go, I'm hoping that I'm hoping by Saturday I am. I better be. Yeah, the plan is to go to the game and then come back that night. Yes, so might be going to watch some baseball as well and spend the whole day up there. I haven't gotten that far, but certainly right now times are tough for South Carolina baseball, Clemson baseball, not currently for the College of Charleston. A triple in the top of the first has given them a 3-0 lead over the Citadel down at Riley Park, where they are underway. So we'll keep our eyes on that over the course of the next 50 minutes or so as we kind of putt along through our program. Yeah, I'm excited, and we're going to obviously talk to Keith much more about this in just a little bit. But I am excited just to see the excitement again in this game for South Carolina. There's some things here and there, and a lot of the details we'll kind of get more into with JC Sherbert tomorrow and in a little bit of a spring game preview. But I'm just excited to see the excitement there because, and I think honestly, Darren, I would attribute well over half of whatever the environment looks like Saturday night to Spencer Rattler. And I hate honestly saying that because you would like to think that there's going to be 30 or 40,000 people that show up just because of their love for Gamecock football, and they wouldn't care if the deaf, dumb, and blind are out there in uniform. But, I mean, I don't think that's true. I think that there's a lot of people that just want to go to the game because they want to see this kid at quarterback. And for his sake, based on recent results, I hope he's perfect. Because if he's 10 of 11 for 110 yards, then there's going to be a lot of I just don't know if he's he can't throw the deep ball. All these experts that can't wait to use their thumbs and their pointer fingers and stuff. So, but I think that's where a lot of it comes down to. And then again, I'm gonna hold a lot of that conversation for Keith, so we don't kind of run in circles here. But Darren, I'll ask you, and look, Clemson people probably could care less what my thought is about this, and I don't blame you, but I bet you it's similar to yours. I think Clemson is probably a little concerned with DJ Uiagalelei, and they should be. There's no reason for him to go 17 of 36 in a spring game.
No, none whatsoever. So my feeling on spring games is very well summed up in how I spent Saturday. I was at Dog and Duck at the time, and I was helping set up the TV so that we've got everything, in nice working order and enough golf and everything. And two of my buddies walk in and they, well, where's the ACC network? I'm like, what? Who cares about the ACC? What are you doing coming in on a Saturday of the Masters and asking for the ACC network? I did not know Clemson spring game was on. I don't know. I think Penn State spring game is this weekend. I think it's normally right around the Easter weekend, and they are in spring practice, but I'm not even certain of that because that's how much value I put in the spring game. So I do agree with you on both of the things that you said, because I was in some form or fashion forced to watch some of the Clemson game. It was on. He didn't look great. He definitely did not look great. No. I don't know what to think of that. Obviously, if you're a Clemson fan, you want him looking better. I was most interested to see Klubnik because obviously there's a chance that Klubnik can eventually, if not sooner, be the number one guy. And I agree with you in that the excitement around South Carolina spring game is Rattler. It's not Christian Beal-Smith, and it's not everybody else and Stogner. It's Rattler because that's what boosted the offseason. That's what sent shockwaves around the country. And if it sent shockwaves around the country, then obviously that reverberated within the fan base. It was It's a massive deal. It's oh my God, Spencer Rattler chose us. Spencer Rattler chose South Carolina, and let's see that. So yes, he can throw the deep balls. The answer to your question.
Yeah,
but
I know we know the answer to that question.
Some
doofus won't.
That's the big thing. That's the buzz, because the big picture is it's a spring game and it means nothing. The buzz is, here's Spencer Rattler, and I won't put much stock in his performance at all because it's a spring game. But that's the storyline of South Carolina football, is Spencer Rattler. And what does that mean for this team this year and moving forward? It's Spencer Rattler. That is the in headlines, glaring, blinking, neon, whatever headline that isn't going away until it's forced to go away for South Carolina football.
Yeah, I think, look, for on Saturday night, I think something that's important externally for South Carolina is that Spencer Rattler has a good night. So what would that mean if he has a great night? Actually, internally, nothing. But what would it mean externally is it would have people talking. And that will carry you through the summer. If they can find a way to put him in a position where he can run out there, and again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They could literally on the headset go, "Hey guys, I need you to give up 8 straight completions. I don't want you to defend him. Just let him complete." None of us are going to know. The only thing people are going to take away is, oh my God, he was 12 of 13 for 216 yards in a spring game. And then guess what? The SEC Network and everybody else all summer long is going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Shane Beamer, you kind of set it up. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's make him look as great as he can possibly look out here. And if he falls flat on his face when the season starts, okay. But at least they've got momentum going into the year. And that's what I think that's what will be important on that stage for Carolina. For Clemson, the reason that I think it's concerning is because we've already seen the track record here with DJ Uiagalelei. Like, this kid had all of last year to prove everything, and they had injuries, they had major problems up front. I mean, they had issues. Okay, there's no question about that. But people have forgotten all about that, and they don't care. What they care about is he was like the most highly touted quarterback to come in since the last one they signed, Trevor Lawrence, and he has largely underperformed, and not even including the injury situations here and there. I mean, we saw him last year, Darren. We talked about it every week, and it wasn't to bury this kid because as a quarterback from a talent standpoint, I really like him. But, I mean, he was missing very simple, easy throws, and they were forced to have to talk about it every week too. They were asked about it. And then that hadn't translated. And so I think there is a reason for concern up at Clemson with this young man. Do I think that he has a chance to be really good still? Well, of course. He's incredibly talented. You almost wonder if that's just all between the ears. I think a lot of it is. But, you know, there is, I think when you look at the quarterback situations at both in-state schools, there is a more pessimistic outlook right now with the presumptive starter in the upstate, and a much more optimistic outlook with the presumptive starter in the Midlands. What does that mean for success? Well, we don't know, but that's just kind of where it is.
It's a fair comment but I don't know if I necessarily would subscribe to the theory because of where South Carolina is coming from a quarterback standpoint to the prospect and possibility of what could be with what is now there has everyone super excited, right? So there is more concern on the Clemson side, having seen it, because DJ wasn't just missing slightly on Saturday. He wasn't. It's a spring game. It's not like these are like the most challenging throws in the world. He was a mess. He's standing back there and he's just chucking balls. It didn't look good. So you're coming from national championship level and now you're here, and where South Carolina's coming from to the hope of being here, it is an odd dynamic. But I agree 100% with what Gene Sapakoff said. I would take Clemson's quarterback room over South Carolina's 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10 right now on April 12th.
Yeah, it's there's so many ways to. I don't disagree with that. I mean, again, we haven't gotten to the season yet. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many. There's a few different ways to, not so many, but there's a few different ways certainly to look at it. Spencer Rattler had his struggles early in the year last year, but he's proven what he is capable of at an elite level. We've seen it clearly. DJ Uyunglele has not done that.
Well, he did at the end of the prior year. Just then when he became the guy last year is when he went from here.
He wasn't. He's shown it. That's why there was so much excitement about him. But when he got handed the keys, he wasn't good.
Yeah.
At least not good on the level that you need to be at Clemson now. I mean, there's a new standard up there, and isn't that what it says on the wall? The best is the standard. He wasn't the best.
Nope.
And then, for Carolina, their backup quarterback has played substantial college football compared to Cade Klubnik. But if you ask me who's the more talented quarterback, from what I understand, is Cade Klubnik. So, there's a lot to discuss. I'll be fascinated. Doty's going to be a starter, and Rattler's going to be a starter. How about that? What are we going to be talking about Monday if Luke Doty is like 18 of 20 for 300 yards and Spencer Rattler's 10 of 17 for $110 and 2 picks?
Oh God! Then it's going to be the same thing as last year. Jason Brown for Heisman.
I know.
Like that wasn't that exactly what we thought coming out of not what we thought. That was the undercurrent. Jason Brown is the greatest thing ever. Ever.
It stresses me out to even think about what we're going to have to deal with around here if that happens. And I hope, by the way, Luke Doty is perfect and he throws for 600 yards.
Absolutely.
But I just the reaction will be unbelievable. All right, got to go. When we return, Keith Allsep will join us right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone. Again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily. Family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road.
Hey, South Carolina, what's going on? This is Patrick Davis, and you are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Your love lifting me higher than I've ever.
All right, 125 final segment on this Tuesday afternoon. It's a pretty good looking Tuesday out there. Hopefully you're getting outside. If you're at least in the state of South Carolina. This gentleman is not in the state of South Carolina. He hosts the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast, and he's in Texas where it's April 12th and probably 114 degrees already. Hey, Keith.
Hey, guys. We're actually, it's a cloudy, rainy, stormy day with a break in between, and so I'm umpiring a baseball game that's scheduled to first pitch at 5. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, that's how it was last week here. It was Darren, I meant to tell you, I drove down Chisholm Road on Johns Island, which if you come onto Johns Island from West Ashley, you go over the Limehouse Bridge, turn right.
Mm-hmm.
I went driving down there last week. There were trees down everywhere. So that tornado warning that we had was real because there's no way those trees just fell over. I mean, they were down everywhere. So hopefully everybody over there was okay. But there's been some pretty nasty stuff making its way across the country the last couple of weeks. All right, Keith, going to finish up with football in just a minute with you. But thus far, Lamont Paris continues to fill out his staff with a couple of gentlemen bringing down with him from Chattanooga. And then he also hired Kerry Rich, special assistant to the head coach. I know you've been around Kerry. Kerry's been around this state a long time. He knows it inside and out. Wanted to get your thoughts on, I believe there's only 3 hires, unless I've missed something. But to this point, those are the 3 that we know about pertaining directly to the staff. So your thoughts on those guys and what he's put together thus far.
All right, so you hired Kerry Rich to be special assistant to the head coach to kind of help you with the basketball mafia in Columbia with the AAU coaches. And Kerry tried to do that for Frank. Kerry was very close to Frank, but Frank certainly is an acquired taste. And if you compare recruiting to fishing, Frank fished in a much smaller pond just because he was such an acquired taste, and there were automatically guys that just were not going to play for him. And so I think the hope there is, Kerry's a bridge. Kerry is able to, kind of be an ambassador and make a lot of introductions for Lamont Paris and good things behind the scenes. And he's so entrenched in the community. Lamont Paris says, he wants to be entrenched in the community just like Dawn Staley and her program. So I think, that could be a very important hire. David McKinley has not been announced, but he's coming over from UT Chattanooga in an off-the-court role. And then, Tanner Bronson's been his right-hand man since day one at UT Chattanooga. And Eddie Shannon played at Florida. I actually coached against him when he was a sophomore in high school at Cardinal Newman there in West Palm Beach. I was going into my second year at Goose Creek, and we were invited to the Derek Harper Invitational. And so I have a great story about him if you want to hear it. But he's still big game fishing or deep sea fishing, I call it, for the final hire, which if he gets one of the guys that I'm hearing he's involved with, which I don't want to mention, a lot of fans should be really, really excited about it.
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit to Kerry. I like Kerry. It's hard to not like Kerry Rich. I mean, he is such a great person, and he loves the Gamecocks, and he loves this state, and he loves basketball. That's a lot of things that you need to love to be in that position. So luckily, he does all that very, very well. So Keith, it seems to me, and you correct me, I'm just kind of flying from the hip here. It seems to me like, without implying that Kerry Rich ever broke a rule, because I'm not saying that, he's kind of doing the same thing that he's done, but now he's on staff, and it may, this is just based on what I've researched with just you and two other people I've talked to, and it may be a little bit easier for him to help facilitate some of these relationships because it is Lamont Paris and not Frank. And I don't mean that personally towards Frank Martin. Again, he's always treated me with the utmost respect. But from a basketball standpoint, what Kerry has done before isn't really, his role isn't changing much. He's just been being paid to do it now. And it's a little bit of an easier sell for him. Is that a fair statement?
I think it is. I mean, how big of an impact ultimately does he make? I mean, I don't know. I think it's to be determined. Sure. But I do think when you're not familiar with the state or the city of Columbia and the community, having a guy like Kerry Rich, having a former player, he was a captain there, when he came in for Eddie Fogler in the building process. I really think Kerry can make those introductions. Kerry can have some ideas about things that they can do in the community that, maybe Frank was not open to. And I think naturally, particularly in the African-American community with Lamont Paris, I think it's going to be a much easier bridge to cross, even though, Frank is Cuban. He's married to, just like me, to African-American woman. But I just think, time will ultimately tell, and I think a lot of it's just up to Lamont Paris, right? A guy that's making the introductions, he makes the introductions, and then what happens after that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's kind of up to you.
Absolutely. I totally agree. What is, over the last, I guess we talked to you last Tuesday. Since then, Lamont has spent time with Derek Scott on the air for an hour. I think he's posted a couple of Twitter photos here and there. He went to the Masters. He has been recruiting, and he has been trying to fill out a staff. But from some of the brief in this small sample size of information we have publicly about what he's done at South Carolina, what have you been impressed with?
Well, I mean, I think, he's been working tirelessly at recruiting, particularly in the transfer portal, although they did offer John Butler's brother. They saw him, Jordan Butler. I guess he's with the AAU program out of Charlotte that Eddie Shannon knows, and Lamont Paris knows that program. Daniel Hankins Sanford Hankins, however, I think he played in that same organization. And so, South Carolina's probably offered close to 20 transfer portal guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really working, and he's working behind the scenes to add, that final piece to the staff that is a proven Power 5 recruiter. And so I just think the work ethic, like he said he was going to do in his introductory press conference, I think he's grinding, he's working.
Derek said he likes craft beer and he likes golf, so he's a winner in his book.
Hey, no doubt about it.
I'm good with that. We'll continue to have to watch it, but this is very interesting. And from what I understand, Keith, Tanner Brunson and Eddie Shannon are coaches that a lot of guys speak highly of. They like these two young men, and this will be Lamont Paris' show, clearly, but he's bringing quality assistant coaches with him, not just assistant coaches that he's comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to people in the business, Eddie Shannon is seen as really a rising star. He's got the pedigree, played at Florida. I think he's still one of the all-time leaders in assists at Florida. By the way, they were pretty good when he was down there.
Yeah, they were okay.
And Tanner Bronson, like I said, has been his right-hand man. He's worked at UNLV and St. Louis, and, both their reputations precede themselves within the basketball community.
1:34 on this Tuesday afternoon. Keith, we'll turn our attention to football. You and I have not sat around and just talked Gamecock football in a while. It's kind of nice to do this, so we're going to do it. The spring game is coming up this weekend. I made the comment to Gene Sapakoff a little while ago that I out of the best part of my heart, being a Carolina fan, I would hope that 30 to 40,000 folks or more, if possible, would fill the stand Saturday night at the spring game, for their love of Gamecock football. But I don't think that statement would be fair, to be truthful to the segment. I think that the large majority of people there, probably over half of them, will be there to see what does Spencer Rattler look like. I think that it's one of those things that's like Santa Claus. I kind of need to see it to believe it. And when they get out there, they're going to believe it because he's actually going to be in uniform playing football. You think that's a fair statement?
I do. I think South Carolina won the offseason primarily because of Spencer Rattler. And I think Spencer Rattler played a key role in guys like Juice Wells and Christian Beal-Smith and
absolutely
Corey Rucker choosing South Carolina. And obviously, Austin Stogner's not there yet. He's going to be a starter, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. And so I think that will be a big draw, Spencer Rattler, because he's a big effing deal. I mean, quite frankly, it's a big deal. I mean, PFF, Pro Football Focus, has him as the number 3 returning quarterback in the country, behind, this guy that won the Heisman Trophy at Alabama, Bryce Young, and Caleb Williams, who was the guy that beat him out. Other than that, nobody else ranks as highly as Spencer Rattler. And so for that reason, I would disagree with the venerable Gene Sapakoff. I would take South Carolina's quarterback room over Clemson simply because I think Spencer Rattler is better than both of their top 2 guys combined. Plus you have Luke Doty, who has experience, and you have at least two very talented young signal callers in Braden Davis and Tanner Bailey, who won't be here until this summer, who was their number 1 guy on the board last year, who was, by the way, going to Oregon, pretty good school. So just on the numbers, plus Colton Gauthier, that's 5 guys. I don't even know how many more does Clemson have other than, DJU and Klubnik, who probably weighs about 170 pounds.
Yeah, and Hunter Helms, the young man from Great Collegiate. I'm really interested to see. I'm interested to see Spencer Rattler because it's Spencer Rattler, but I'm interested to watch Luke Doty. That's who I really want to see on Saturday. I really want to watch Luke Doty. I'm a Luke Doty fan, have been for a long time. As a player and as a person, he's going to be the other starters are actually going to play a real game. And what I'm most interested to see, Keith, is number 1, where he is from a health standpoint, but number 2, how he plays with Spencer Rattler right across the field from him. That's what I want to see.
Well, I mean, I think if you know Luke Doty, he's a competitor and he wants to be really good. I was fortunate to have him on the podcast a couple times before he enrolled. And he is a winner, and he's a guy that wants to be really good, and he's a guy who's willing to do anything he can to help the program win. He's truly an unselfish kid. I don't think he'll really be back in full rhythm until fall camp because of the surgery, the wait time, bringing him along slowly, because you didn't have to bring him back very fast because you had other guys behind Rattler that would benefit from getting a lot of reps. But now he is or appears to be close to 100%. And so I don't know. I mean, to me, you can't really, if the offense goes out and has a great day, the defense sucks. Or if the
That's right.
defense dominates the offense, well, God Almighty, Marcus Satterfield, why didn't we fire him?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's going to be. It's always a massive overreaction. I mean, look, I was at a spring game where Dondrell Pinkins threw for about, I don't know, ever how many miles it is around the earth 4 times, and Taki Muhammad caught half of them.
Yep.
And then he never caught another pass the rest of his life. So,
yeah, and I don't know if
Dondrell
ever threw another
was
pass.
Pretty good. Last year against the Florida Quitters and against Auburn, he was pretty good. So, I mean, it's like Shane Beamer said today, I believe it was Mike Yuva asked him about, overhyped guys or guys that just have a big spring game. And Shane Beamer's response was, hey, some guys are gamers. He wants to see what they are like when the lights come on. And so I really don't know. I mean, I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see how many people will be there. I hope it's more than that. I hope it's 50, 60,000 because, there's going to be a ton of recruits there. And I think, Shane Beamer really is always recruiting. He mentioned today they've had difference-making recruits at every single practice. None of that's by accident. And,
no.
So we'll see.
Yeah, they've done a masterful job thus far at setting up their recruiting timeline of when prospects are on campus, what they're there to see, who's randomly around when those guys are there as well, which is fascinating, how the world turns in college football recruiting. Give me a name offensively. We'll get to defense in a minute. Give me a name offensively of a guy maybe a tad off the radar right now or way off the radar that you are hoping and excited to see on Saturday night.
So I got 2 guys I'm intrigued to see. First is Xavier Legette. I think it's all about Josh Vann and Juice Wells and Corey Rucker. But I'm very excited from what I've heard and what I've been told about Xavier Legette, the offseason that he's had. He's been banged up with a wrist injury.
Yep.
But I really think you're going to see him now that he's, finally being able to go through a spring practice healthy and be coached, because he didn't go through last spring. He is still recovering from surgery. I think you're really going to see him. And then another guy that's off the radar for me that I'm intrigued by is Rashad Amos.
Absolutely.
Big, powerful, fast man. How does he pop and where does he fit in this running back rotation? Because by all accounts, it's going to be the Marshawn Lloyd show. And then, you're going to have a steady diet of Christian Beal Smith and Juju McDowell, maybe in a multiplicity of ways, if that's even a phrase. I don't know. I went to school at Liberty High School. And so, yeah, those are 2 names. On offense, if there's like 1 or 2 on, I really want to see TJ Sanders, because you've heard about him. So he's not really off the radar. So maybe Gilbert Edmond, because that's always been my guy since he's been down there. He was young. He was 16 or 17 when he first got to campus. He was a wide receiver. Then he grew to 6'4", 220, and they decided to make him a defensive end. And then he showed up that COVID summer. He was 6'5", 250 pounds. And if he hadn't have tested positive, he would have played a bunch in the bowl game. And by all accounts, he and Terrell Dawkins and Tyreek Johnson have all had, their moments. And so Gilbert Edmond, and then Anthony Rose. He's a true freshman. He's a safety. He's a freaking athlete. And, who's going to be behind Devontae Reed and R.J. Roderick. To me, I think Anthony Rose could really, be that guy. So we'll see.
I agree. Rashad Amos is a kid that I've liked for over 2 years, Keith. When we first saw him get in the game a couple of seasons ago, he reminded me a lot of Corey Boyd and how he ran downhill and physical. He looked a little like him, to be honest with you, as well. This season, quite frankly, it should be the Marshawn Lloyd show if he stays healthy. Christian Beal-Smith as well. But Rashad Amos, this league, isn't it funny how it's changed? There was a point in time where you couldn't get through it without a good running back. And I'm talking 20 plus years ago. And then it was, you can't really get through the SEC without 2 good running backs. And now, honestly, I don't know that you can get through the league without 3 running backs. I mean, you think about how many guys get banged up every year, how one loss can cost you so much. And especially guys who can play physical football. And I think that he is certainly that guy, and he's continues to be off the radar until people actually see him again. And then they go, oh, yeah, I forgot that he was even playing football here. And I'll give you another name, and you can take this and run with it for the entire unit. I want to see what Dylan Wonnum looks like because the offensive line is going to be they were brutal last year for the large majority of the season, certainly through the first 2/3 of it for a multitude of reasons. Half the time, I don't think they knew what was going on. At times, they were just weren't good enough to compete with their counterparts. And then at times, both. And that's a real bad recipe. But as the year went on, things started to get better there. Communication certainly was better. And they got a whole nother year in the strength program. They're all together. If reports are true that communication wasn't good and nobody knew who to block and this, that, and the other, well, that shouldn't be a problem in year 2, regardless of how good or bad you think your offensive coordinator is. If he's there for the second straight year and you haven't really changed much from a communication standpoint, from a personnel, schematics, whatever it is, that should be better. But Dylan Wonnum's a guy we've circled since he got to campus, and I think he's largely underperformed. He's apparently healthy. And if he is, he needs to be the anchor. So I'm anxious to see what he looks like.
I mean, my understanding is he's still not 100%. He had to have a hip surgery because of a torn labrum in his hip.
Right.
And then he's had coming off of back surgery. I do agree with you. I think he is a key for this offensive line because ideally, I think they would really like to see what the offensive line looks like with Javon Gwynn at center.
Yeah.
As opposed to Eric Douglas. And so if you had Jalen Nichols, Vershawn Lee on the left side, and then at center you had Javon Gwynn, and then you could push Wanamaker inside the guard and have Wonnum at right tackle, that may be your best 5, or maybe not best 5, but your most talented 5 players from a physical standpoint on the offensive line. So I'm with you. I mean, to me, it's a big key. He's had 2 major injuries that have sidetracked his career. I mean, he was a freshman All-American and came in as a true freshman. He didn't go through spring. He came in the summer and wound up starting like the last 5 or 6 games of his true freshman year. And then he's kind of, missed a bunch with a high ankle sprain and then the hip and then the back injury.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. Keith, I think you're spot on there from an offensive line standpoint. And if that unit isn't any good this year, then the offense ain't going to be any good. And it's the SEC. Your offensive line has to be good. So on the defensive side, I'll say the 2 names that I'm most focused on are 2 of the names that are the most popular. And that's Jordan Birch and Jordan Strawn. And I'm really circling Jordan Birch. It's time. It's time. I mean, he's been in the program long enough. This football program, Keith, has, as you know, specifically over the last 25 years or so, put out some of the best defensive ends that the NFL has had. It certainly has put out some just amazing guys in general in the history of the school and of the SEC. I mean, it's they've had a lot of those names. He was signed to be the next one. There's no question about it. And it's time. It's his turn. And so I want to see what Jordan Strawn obviously has been in school for 6 years now. He should be ready to quote unquote eat, as I heard the other day. And Jordan Burt should be ready to perform at a superstar level. This defense needs to perform at a top half, top third type level in order for them to maybe even jump up another win or two this season. And they're not going to be able to do that without elite players up front. And he's your guy. Zach Pickens too, don't get me wrong, but Zach Pickens started to really show last year what he's capable of. Jordan has had spurts, nothing consistent. I want to see that.
I mean, so does everybody.
Yeah. I just think that we constantly get a lot of the conversation on defense, Keith, is about the secondary and the linebackers. And I think that there's just an assumption that up front we're going to be really good. I assumed that last year, and I think I might have been a little off the mark. So I don't want to assume that this year. I want to, as a fan, I want that to be proven to me.
Well, so to me, I think Jordan Burch is like a jump. I think he's going to be a very good player. He was never going to be Jadeveon Clowney. I think he's more flexible in the hips than Clowney. I think he's probably a better overall athlete than Clowney, but I don't think he will be the ball player that Jadeveon Clowney was. But he doesn't have to be. I mean, to me, he certainly ought to be able to match or exceed the production of J.J. Enikbari, who is not a first-round pick. I think everybody hyped him up to be a first-round pick, and he had 4.5 sacks, and 2.5 of them were against Vanderbilt. I mean, to me, Jordan Burch needs to be a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sack guy. But again, Brad Lawing told me when he worked for Nick Saban said sacks is the most overrated statistic there is. It's the ability to consistently pressure or affect the passer. Okay. Right. Get him off his mark, make him throw it early, make him move in the pocket, force the throw to not be exactly where he wants to throw it because you're in the passing lane or you're affecting him on every play, hurrying him, hitting him, etc. And so to me, South Carolina should be better up front because they return everybody except Enikbari and Sterling, who was, the teacher's pet for Mike Peterson. He just was. Okay. He was a solid player, but he was the teacher's pet. And now there's a new guy in town, and we're going to see what these guys can do. For me, the key on defense, if you're going to be better against the run, is, look, I've never seen you Aaron run, but I would wager both of you would probably beat Damani Staley in a 40. Okay. South Carolina needs improved linebacker play. They need better athletes that can get to the edge, that don't make false steps, that have recovery speed, and that just have the ability to get there in a bad mood and make something happen when they do get there.
I just want this Bam Scott kid to be a star so we can all yell Bam Bam.
That's right.
I mean, you got a linebacker named Bam, and you got a linebacker named Debo. I mean, that's what could be any better than that? I mean, it sounds,
Well, it'd be better. It'd be better than that would be for him to make everybody forget about the other Debo. That if he's that good, then okay.
Yeah,
let's go. So. I'm signing up for that.
That's another level of good.
Yeah. If you're compared to that Debo, you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably done something pretty good with yourself. So I'm a little unsure of this. I've thought about it. I don't know what we can draw, but I'll ask you, see what your opinion is. As we are watching Saturday to see what players, maybe as much as we can in a spring game. Again, I'm totally on board with what Darren has said for 2 years around here. Spring games are spring games. But we do look to see kids and how they've matured, how they've grown up, somehow how they've improved. We're also probably looking to see if we can tell anything how much we've improved upstairs offensively. Last year, largely, it seemed like it was a struggle from a play calling standpoint. This is year 2 for Coach Satterfield, and from what I've understood, to his credit, he has put a lot of work in to try to continue to improve as a play caller, and I sure hope that's true, because I really want him to be the best that he can be. So how much do you think we can draw from Saturday night's spring game as to what type of play caller he is now compared to what he was last season?
I mean, I don't know. Again, I think they're probably going to be as vanilla as humanly possible.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to show. Now, look, you're probably Jaheim Bell's probably not going to be out there. Joyner may not be out there. Obviously, Stogner and Rucker are not going to be there. Leggette's been limited. So I don't know. I mean, I think they may make an effort simply because a lot of people, including myself, and, we'll still be second guessing until the end of the season, unless South Carolina starts off 6-0. I mean, I just think it's a question mark. I mean, I've heard the same as you. And look, let's face it. Marcus Satterfield and Greg Atkins were the only 2 coaches on this staff that did not get a new deal or an extension of their contracts or a raise. Fact. And so they better be better, or there's going to be somebody else coming in December to replace them. And so, look, there's no excuse, in my opinion, and I'm trying not to be a homer here, but when you have Spencer Rattler, when you return Josh Vann, Xavier Leggett, when you bring in Austin Stogner, who is a really like almost 6'7", 260-pound guy that can run 4.5s, and Corey Rucker and Juice Wells and Amarian Brown and the guys at running back, and the fact you return like 7 guys that have started at least half a dozen games, and a lot of them 20 or more games on the offensive line, there is no excuse not to have a really good offense. And if you don't, somebody's going to get blamed for it, and it's probably going to be the play caller.
I agree, Keith. I think JC hit the nail on the head 2 or 3 weeks ago when he was on our program, Darren. He said, you don't have an excuse, really. Yeah, it's your second year. You got a bunch of talent. You got a Heisman-type quarterback, potentially. He was at one point. Yeah, I can't say that any differently. All right, final quick one here. We got a couple of minutes. We got 1.5 minutes to go. Not regardless of quarterback, offensively, give me the name of one player that fans will be talking about come Sunday that they are not talking about now.
Wow. Man,
people aren't talking much about Doty. He's got a shot other than you.
I mean, that's a tough one.
I've got one.
No, I'm just going to say Devontae Reed. I think he's going to make big plays. And, by all accounts, he's kind of like DJ Swearinger. He doesn't mind when he gets there in a bad mood, and he doesn't mind blowing stuff up.
That's right. How about this for you? How about Eric Shaw?
I mean, I don't know. I've heard he's playing wide receiver.
Yep.
I don't know if he's going to get big enough. I mean, he's just a guy. I don't even know if he's shaving yet. I mean,
probably
Brad Lawn used to say, if he saw a guy that was 6'5", 225 pounds, and he had never shaved, had no hair on his face, his stuff just hadn't kicked in, and he knew that guy would end up being 260 plus pounds, just like Cliff Matthews. But, if you go in the guy and he's 6'5", 220, and he's got a full beard, probably not. So I don't know on Eric Shaw. Maybe you've heard more than I have. I just don't know. I mean, to me, he's a big-time SEC athlete, but, look how much bigger Gilbert Edmonds got since he signed versus Eric Shaw, who, quite frankly, I thought would be an edge rusher. I thought he would be a buck. And now he's not big enough to be a tight end. So he runs. He's tall. He's a tremendous athlete. He was I think a triple jump and a high jump state champion in high school. He's an athlete. Just where does he fit? To me, I don't know. That's just not a guy I've really asked that much about because now I don't know the tight ends coach.
This is
he's
generally
in Chattanooga.
These spring games generally are the games where, you get through a half or something, and then a lot of those guys, starters come out, and then these guys come in and have big games. Everybody goes, God, I don't even know who that guy was. And then you look up, you go, well, he had 7 catches for 115 yards. Who the heck is that? So I know this. If I had to throw a jump ball and we just had to just run straight on down the field, I'd say, EJ Jenkins, you go to that side. Eric Shaw, you go to that side because you're 6'7" and you're 6'5". And one of you, I'm just going to toss it up, catch it. So we'll see.
I mean, so in the fall, we put Austin Stogner at 6'7" on one side and EJ Jenkins out to the other side and say, good luck matching up.
That's
to
right.
that.
That's right. And put tiny Eric Shaw in between them. The 6'5" guy.
That's right.
Keith, can't wait. I'm sure this week you're going to get into a ton of this stuff on the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. For those who haven't subscribed, you're missing out. Keith not only is a great person, but he's got a great show. And who's on it tonight and the rest of the week, for that matter?
All right, so tomorrow we're going to do some audio and some stuff. We kicked off the week with Augusta Stone, her stone cold takes on Gamecock women's basketball, the national champions, looked ahead to next year. Colin Taylor this morning talking about basketball, and I guess South Carolina baseball's been wandering around ever since Ray Tanner left. We're kind of in the Mike Dubose, Dennis Franchione, Mike Price, Mike Shula era of Gamecock baseball. We talked a little bit about that. Mike Uva on Thursday and JC on Fridays previewing the spring game and recruiting. And we'll have our Garnet Black Town Hall. And the Dick of the Week is back award, and that goes to Gino Auriemma for whining and being a whiny little bitch, saying Paige Beckers gets fouled more than any other player in the country, and I'm going to get a ton of technical fouls next year because this kid gets fouled more than anybody when he's got 3 players draped just like everybody else all over Aaliyah Boston. I mean, cut me a break. She plays outside and you can't touch her or you're getting a foul called. Aaliyah gets hammered all the time because she plays close to the basket.
That's
Not
true.
even close.
So
for that, we, gave Gino the coveted Dick of the Week award.
It's always coveted. That's not coveted. I don't know what it is.
Oh gosh. I wish you wouldn't have given it away. That'd give you folks reason to listen if they haven't already. But tune in next week to find out who the winner is.
I tweeted it out already, so it's not a secret.
Keith, thank you.
7 classified.
No, nothing is anymore. Thank you so much for your time, as always, buddy. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the spring game, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thank you, guys. Always enjoy it. You guys have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. There you go, Keith Allsep,
week.
host of the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. On Darren, it is National Colorado Day, so if you know anybody in Colorado, give them a call and pour one out for the fine folks of the Mountain West.
One of my favorite states out there. Wife used to live out there, in fact. I love Colorado.
Colorado is beautiful. I can't say that, though. I love Wyoming because that's where my in-laws are, some of them. And the folks who are in Wyoming hate Colorado. I don't know why. It's what they say. So, but I love both. So, for whatever that means. It's also National Grilled Cheese Day.
Oh, there you go.
Don't burn your grilled cheese. No, that's a big no-no. It drives me insane. I'm like, hey, how do you do that? Just keep flipping it till it's done. All right. I've made it through. I think we can make it one more day. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show.